Hi, my name is Nicholas Tito, and I'm choosing the vlog option for mini essay 3, argument about an argument for COM2053. So, this mini essay asks of me to assist the anti-marijuana public service announcements from 1969 made by the American Medical Association. It asks of me, from a rhetorical standpoint, do I think that this PSA makes a strong case for avoiding marijuana? No, I don't think that the PSA makes a strong case for avoiding marijuana, and I will explain to you now why. So, real quick, I have two screens. As usual, I have here what I've written down about the public service announcement, and here I just have the actual assignment. So let's get started. In a 1963 public service announcement made by the American Medical Association, the PSA attempts to warn viewers about the dangers of marijuana, saying that it will lead to illness, insanity, and crime. Throughout the PSA, it makes dramatic claims, uses dramatic narration, and also uses dramatic visuals, all in an attempt to persuade the viewers into avoiding cannabis. The PSA does not make a strong rhetorical argument, and we can identify this using concepts from our Week 10 readings and videos. Although the PSA attempts to persuade its audience, its claims lack the proper support, its reasoning is incomplete, and it deeply relies on fallacies. These factors all together make the argument that the PSA does not make a strong case for avoiding marijuana. Firstly, the PSA lacks the proper support, as in it lacks the proper reasoning and evidence. From understanding the reading, it is clear that effective arguments require a clear claim, along with reasons that support that claim, along with evidence that support those reasons. The claim that the PSA makes is the claim that marijuana use is dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. The PSA gives the reason that marijuana will lead to illness, crime, and insanity. However, no statistics, no medical studies, nor real life examples are used in the announcement, meaning that there is zero evidence provided to the audience. For example, the narrator claims that marijuana destroys your mind, but then again does not offer any explanation as to why that is. Therefore, by failing to give evidence, the PSA's arguments are to be considered weak. They should be considered weak. If I say walking is bad for you, and then you ask me why, and then I say it just is, I just think it is, that's not really an effective claim. After walking for a while, you look good because you're burning off them calories. That's irrelevant, but you understand the point I'm trying to make. If you want to make a effective argument, you need evidence, you need a clear claim, you need strong reasoning. So another thing that the PSA demonstrates is its problems with philosophical reasoning. Using the crash course philosophy video that has been assigned to us, strong arguments need clear premises in order to logically support its conclusion. In this PSA, many premises are implied instead of being stated, making them anti-memes. For example, the PSA claims that trying marijuana will ruin your life, but its premise that links marijuana use to failure in life is not presented in the PSA due to the PSA not stating the reason that connects cause and effect. The argument ultimately sounds incomplete, and I immediately thought so just from one watch of the PSA, and I've watched it several times. So, to end my argument, the use of using the assigned Mometrics Academy video as reference, the PSA also heavily relies on logical fallacies. The commercial uses a slippery slope, implying that trying marijuana will ultimately lead to crime, insanity, and illness. Also, hasty generalization is done in the PSA by assuming that all marijuana users will suffer very extreme outcomes. For example, insanity, crime, and illness. The PSA also heavily relies on an appeal to fear. You know, it uses dramatic warnings to almost manipulate the emotions of their viewers rather than presenting actual evidence. So overall, these fallacies undermine the argument's validity and overall make them way less persuasive. So clearly the PSA had the right intentions, but in terms of the assignment, no, it does not make a strong case for avoiding marijuana. It does not. And I think it would have done a lot better, or it would have been more convincing if they had used, if they have gave its evidence the proper support, if they had made their reasoning more complete, and if they had not so deeply relied on fallacies. So if they had done so, then maybe the PSA would have made a much stronger case for avoiding marijuana. But with the video alone in of itself, no, it did not make it did not make a strong argument. Watching the video for the first time, it had used almost disturbing visuals, you know, like dark claims that, like, yeah, your life will be ruined. And obviously, like, in more modern times, as of right now, we know a lot more about marijuana use and marijuana itself. So obviously we know to be careful with this, but you know, this video from 1969 was saying, yeah, you have to be careful with it. But if you're hearing about it for the first time, you know, it doesn't make a strong argument. It's almost solely relies on fear. So no, I don't think that it makes a strong argument. That is it. that is my argument about, or sorry, my take on if this PSA makes a strong case for avoiding marijuana. So thank you. I actually found this really interesting because I don't know. It just really was to me for some reason. So yeah, okay, bye.